with naked and unashamed. Excuse me. I was about to say naked and unafraid, but that could work as well. But today I wanted to come and talk about just giving you all some tips to help you activate your superpower. And we're going to be using Wolverine. We're going to be using Wolverine in this talk, okay? So one of the things I love about Wolverine and X-Men was his ability to always heal himself, right? Wolverine, we know, he had these metal skeleton basically implanted within him. And part of it was allowing him to have these metal fangs, or not fangs, but metal claws that would come out of his fist when he fought, right? But he also had the ability to where he was able to heal himself, okay? And when we think about life and all of the different things that we encounter, I know for myself, I have to deal with a lot of different things, and I know there are other people who deal with a lot of different things as well. And it leaves marks on us, right? It leaves scars on us. And what I love about Wolverine is that he hardly ever had any scars, right? Even though he took bullets, he took stabbings and all of these other different things that he encountered, it never left any marks on him. And when we think about life and how we go through different traumas or different situations, we might not always have physical marks. Some of us may have physical marks. I know myself, I have a physical mark from an incident I got into in middle school. And it's on my shoulder or whatever, but that mark was left because there was something that took place and it left a mark. So it's now this forever reminder that that situation happened, right? But with Wolverine, he never had any marks left on his body. And when you think about trauma and just the different impacts that it has on us as individuals, mentally and physically, right? They leave marks. But when you are able to get to a place where you actually sit down and process the different things that took place, you will realize that you also have the ability, excuse me, y'all, you also have the ability to activate your superpower to heal. Wolverine endured all of those different things, and guess what? He was always ready for the next battle or the next struggle, and he always gave it 100% regardless of what took place prior, right? He never really needed too much time to rejuvenate in some of the first movies, right? But I think that is one of the best superpowers to have, right? The ability to heal yourself. Oftentimes we look for other people to be able to heal us. And at the end of the day, it's only us that can truly do the deep healing that we need on ourselves, right? Of course, there can be people that may come into our lives who will aid and assist in our ability to heal or deal with the different things that take place in our life. But if we don't ever really fully sit down and deal with the traumas, right? Deal with the incidents, deal with the memories, deal with the moments that took place in our lives that may have caused some form of trauma, right? Some form of marking. Our bodies do not heal. They won't heal properly. They won't heal correctly, and they will leave marks. Now, for me, we're flesh and blood, right? So certain things on our bodies are going to leave marks, right? Regardless of how much healing we have done or how much healing has taken place concerning the scar. Right now, I'm sitting here looking at my thumb, and you can't really see it. And well, there it goes. But you can kind of see the mark if you turn it at different angles. See right there? But you can't fully always immediately see the mark, right? Part of that was from the oil that I used on it as well. But sometimes you can go through things and they will leave little marks, but nothing that's too apparent, right? Nothing that's too obvious on you. And sometimes those things will come back up at the most random moments. Like, I know for me today, So much stuff came to the forefront of my mind, and I had to deal with those things, right? It wasn't that I hadn't healed from them. It's just that sometimes you'll go through things and it's like the memory of the thing flashes back and you have to deal with it in that moment. But the beautiful part of having the power to heal yourself is the fact that you know that it was just for a moment. Wolverine knew that every time he fought, his body was going to be marked, but he knew that it was just for a moment, right? He knew that regardless of what hit he took, regardless of what mark it left, it was just for a moment. His body would heal and he would be right back to himself. We don't always have the ability to do that. Some people do not have the ability to do that, right? Sometimes they will take marks and those marks will cause such a deep scar on them that it changes them for the worse, right? Not changes them for the better, but changes them for the worse. And that is what prevents us from fully healing, right? When we allow the things that happen to us to change us for the worse, right? We don't change and become better. We change and we become bitter. We change and we become hardened. We change and we become just somebody we don't even recognize. And Wolverine always went back to himself. It was funny because prior to making this video, I thought about the movie of Wolverine where he got older, right? And he lost his ability to heal. And so even though I thought that was a good movie, I never really understood why he stopped healing. And so I looked it up. And what it says, hold on, let me bring it back up, which I think is also kind of interesting considering what's going on today. Oh, shoot. Hold on. All right, so it says that as he aged, he slowly was unable to fight off the same toxins from the same metal that was implanted in his body, right? So when he was younger and in better health, he was able to fight off the toxins that the metal implanted in him was putting into his body, right? But as he aged, he went through different things, and his food was tampered with. Now we've seen all type of different records of, we now have genetically modified food, right? Which is also interesting, but whatever. We have genetically modified food or whatever out now. And it's interesting because it says that the food was tampered with, right? It says in the Logan storyline, it is implied that the corporate food supply was engineered to suppress the mutation gene, further diminishing his ability to recover. It's kind of interesting considering our food is modified. Not sure what that has to do with healing, but I just wanted to share that. But as he aged, right, and he was unable to fight off the toxins, he was literally poisoned because of the food supply, right? He was not able to heal himself in the same way, right? And so he ended up meeting this girl, and I think the little girl ended up being his daughter. Powerful little girl, right? She came from two very powerful mutants, okay? But I think she was indirectly his daughter. And so she had the ability to heal as well. She had the same ability that Wolverine had. And I think it's interesting that sometimes we don't realize that the things that we carry, if we don't deal with them, we'll pass them on to the next generation. And because Wolverine had mastered his ability to heal, when he met the little girl, even though she had her own thing, she also had to deal with, like much like Wolverine did in his youth or his prime, right? He was able to help the girl to the best of his ability, right? Because mind you, he was still having all these battles he had to go through. But he was not able to heal in the same way. But now there was this new generation, right, that was coming about, and he was still fighting to protect them, still fighting to help try to show this girl what to do with the abilities that she had, right? And so even that in itself is a battle. And when you think about parenthood, or you think about maybe your relationship with your parents, or you think about maybe the relationship you didn't have with your parents, right? Those are all things you have to process because your parents pass down stuff to you, right? And whether we realize it or not, the things that our parents pass to us, we then also have to deal with on top of whatever other things that we may have endured in our life, right? We still have to process all of those things. So if we become a people who are hardened or bitter, right? We pass that on to the next generation, and then the next generation, if they don't heal it, then then they'll pass it on to the next generation. And I thought it was interesting that in Logan, or in the review I just did on Google, you can just do a quick search on why Logan was unable to heal in his old age, right? But it's interesting that the food was modified, right? And that was something that impacted his ability to heal. As humans, regardless of whether or not you eat the GMO food or not, right? A lot of the things that we endure, it leaves marks on us mentally more so than physically sometimes, right? Some of us do have deep physical markings on us because of whatever trauma we may have endured, right? But if we're able to touch the main part, right, which is our mind, if we're able to center ourselves mentally and really deal with and reflect on what it was that changed us or what it was that tried to change us, right? Because there are some that are a little bit stronger than others when it comes to their ability to just kind of take things and keep it moving, right? You may see them down for a little bit, but they get back up and they keep going, right? And a lot of people will have different perspectives on that because that's subjective, right? People will look at the ability to heal differently, right? Sometimes people don't heal, they mask the situation, right? So they'll say they're healed from it, but they're masking it. And then sometimes a person can be healed from a situation, but for whatever reason, a moment or a memory cycle, and then they now have to process that and then do the work to heal through that. But the biggest thing is understanding that our ability to heal ourselves is a superpower, right? A lot of times people do things and they put things in motion intentionally or unintentionally, typically intentionally, right? I truly believe a lot of people know exactly what they're doing. They'll pretend like they don't, or they'll try to feign clueless or play the victim, even though the whole time they were the ones plotting and scheming and doing all of these things to set things up, right? Because they want to appear a certain way, or they want to look a certain way, or whatever the case may be, right? And despite other people, we're responsible for ourselves. And so your ability to heal is one of the best superpowers you will ever have. One of the best ones you'll ever have. Because it doesn't matter about the temporary marking that may be on you, right? Before my thumb healed, it was a open gash, right? It was an open gash. You could see the meat in my thumb. It was nasty. I'm surprised I didn't freak out more. Because my younger self definitely would have. But by the time my thumb had... I told you I got a fan club. By the time my thumb had been cut open, I had already dealt with enough stuff, and I guess my mind had been able to just process it and move on about my life, right? But this was but a moment. Yes, it left a mark, but it's not something that I'm like, I carry around with me to the point where I'm like, oh, I forgot. You know what I mean? So your ability to heal will always be a superpower. Yes, there will be people always who have their own agendas, and they will do things, whether it is modifying the food or whatever the case may be, right? To try to prevent you from being your best or your greatest self. But, excuse me, a burp. But if, confirmation. But if you don't allow yourself to heal, right, then you'll never enable that superpower that will allow you to do so much more greater things. And so I just wanted to share that with you all today. So hopefully it'll allow you to activate your superpower of healing. A lot of people want to be healed, or they need the healing, but they may not always know what steps to take to get there, or they may not know how to tackle whatever emotions or traumas or bruising and markings that they have on them, right? But once you master your mind, once you're able to sit and process whatever it was that took place, right, you'll realize that it's literally just but a moment. And you have to allow that moment to pass. The memory of the moment may come back up, but you deal with it in the moment and then you move forward, right? Because once you're healed, you move forward. You keep pushing forward. So hopefully you use that and you're able to activate your superpower to heal, right? So that way you're able to help others do the same thing. That's the word for today. Love you later.